without, nice and relaxed. Just roll your arms forward. And roll your arms backwards. Rolling your arms forwards. Rolling it backwards. Now one arm forward, one backwards. The other arm forward, the other arm backwards. That's good. Roll it. Fantastic. And just side to side. Side to side. Side to side. That's good. That's good. Side to side. Lifting up. Raise your arms. Down. Taking a deep breath in. And exhaling. Inhale, deep breath in. And exhale. That's good. Deep breath in. Inhale. And exhale. Little shake. How would you like to be able to take control of your life? Take control back of your life. Control what you can control and let go what you can't control. How would you like to be able to perform at your best? Who are you at your best? Make a note, make a mental note. You want to take it, write it down. Who are you at your best? And how often are you at your best? Who are you at your best? And how often are you at your best? Mental states is key to succeeding. I think what sports people, business people, people in the arts, people across a broad range of areas, the key to succeeding in the world as we know it is being in the right mental state at the right time. There is no mathematical equation for that. We learn through discovery, through experiential learning. I'm sure there's been times in your life where you've done really, really well and wondered how you've done what you've done. Now you focus and reflect on those times, you realise that you've got the capacity, like a light switch, to switch on every time we want. I'm going to teach you these skills for tonight's seminar. Many years ago, I was asked to do some work in a corporation. I asked the CEO what he wanted me to help him improve. Many, many years ago, I didn't really understand the corporate scene very well, and he gave me these protocols called KPIs. Now 15 years ago, I didn't know what it was, Key Performance Indicator. One thing that I realised was that a lot of them were external attribution. So I took them home and I studied them carefully. And a bit like having worked in sport at the very highest level, one thing about learning about working in sport at the highest level is that the key to succeeding is mental state. So in corporation, I realised that just like sport, you can control only certain factors. You can't control the weather, you can't control the referee, you can't control the other team. But what you can do to impact your performance is control your inner state. So I went back the following day to the CEO and said, I've got a vision for you guys. The vision was the HPI. Now you won't find the HPI anywhere in Google. It was a publication of my vision, and there's the Human Performance Indicator. What I felt was, let's focus on what we can do internally, and the external will look after itself. So I said, what makes a good member of staff? Now, what makes a good member of staff? Enthusiastic, motivated, confident, grateful for customer. On a scale of 1 to 10, you could achieve 8 or 9, with 10 being high. On all those levels, you're going to succeed in business. The product will look after itself. They've gone on to smash every record in sales, and my career was launched in the business world, and then I went on to write Excel at Business and so on and so forth. So I realised mental state. And I've learned in sport, the key is mental state, where margins are very, very minimal. Mental state is key. And one of the things is that we tend to use a lot of didactic formulas. A lot of didactic formulas for outcomes. In the therapeutic world, in the coaching, there is no equation, maths equation for happiness. We don't learn didactically, we learn from experience. experiences. So for example, if you're flying in a plane and you hit a bit of turbulence, you potentially could have a fear or a phobia with that experience. And to solve the issue, people tell you it's safe to fly, it's safe to travel. They're very logical, very didactic, yet you still have the fear. You still have the emotional imprint in your brain, the limbic system. So when you are faced with a situation you've got to fly, you're going to fight, flight, freeze. Because planes fly overhead every day, thousands of them, you don't duck for cover. Okay? They fly, you don't duck for cover. One of the reasons being they're not in your conscious awareness. So I'm going to teach you tonight some powerful skills, mental skills you can do as often as you like. Mental skills to get in the zone, to be you at your best, to function at an optimum level, just like a light switch. Peak mental state is about being you, the best version of you, being you at your best. Now write down a time where you were in the zone. Write down a time where you were in the zone. Have you got a time? You're in the zone. It might have been doing a course, it might have been driving, playing golf, it might have been having a conversation, it might have been at work, it may have been all of the above. Write down a time you're in the zone and just jot it down. Having written a time you're in the zone, write down some emotions you like to experience. What are some emotions you like to experience? Love, happiness, joy, peace, calm. Write down as many emotions as you can think of that you like to experience. Write them down. Write down emotions that you like to experience. Jot them down. Okay? Jot them down. And feel them. Imagine what it would feel like to feel love, peace, joy, happiness at any point, any time. You can draw on these emotions. Imagine what it would feel like to really feel these emotions at any point that you want to. Imagine what it would feel like to have that. Okay? Really feel it. Really feel it. The key is succeeding to controlling your emotional state. Think, okay, you've got different emotional states. Would you imagine you're going in for work, you're at a big meeting, something happens tragically or whatever, or something affects you, you're struggling to focus. Okay? You've got to put your game head on. So the seminar is about putting the game head on. Because really how we respond unconsciously, our primal brain is not designed to keep you happy. It's designed to keep you safe. Now, many years ago, before we evolved from a logical point of view, the cortex, the frontal part of the brain, we're pretty much instinctive in the sense that we had dinosaurs roaming the earth and we'd fight, we'd freeze, or we'd run. Or maybe all of the above, or one of the three in different situations and contexts. We don't have that anymore roaming the earth. We don't have dinosaurs roaming the earth anymore. What we do have is a chronically agitated world that we live in that does not differentiate between modern day stress, like road rage, paying the bills, and dinosaurs roaming the earth. The mind is constantly vigilant to keep you safe. And the way the mind works, for simplicity, to cut the jargon out, if you went to 10 stores at Christmas time, and 9 were really friendly to you, and served you, and gave you a good deal and were nice to you, if one was abrupt and didn't treat you really well, which one would you remember when you went home? Which one would you remember when you went home? The one you remember was more than likely the bad experience. The brain is designed to keep you safe. So it's your job to be able to train the mind in a way to build a peak mental state. Now, have you ever had road rage before? Okay, be honest. So if you had road rage before, you're not thinking that first 6 seconds between unconscious response, conscious response. The person in front of you might be racing to the hospital. They might have a pregnant wife running to the hospital. You're not thinking that. You might personalise it, one thing or the other. Yet all things said and done, it's instinctively. Have you ever sent an email you regret sending, or sent a text you regret sending, which you would take it back? Okay. When I train some of the leading people in the world at press conferences, be it people working football managers, politicians, I always tell them before they answer a question, have a drink of water and answer the question after 6 seconds. So it's a non or a lesser emotional response. So they don't get emotionally hijacked, so to speak. It's more clear, it's more clarity. And this is a technique I've used for salespeople too. People who can telesales as well, and a lot of pressure, and so on and so forth. So, how would you like to experience confidence that goes through the roof? How would you like to be able to do that? I'm sure you would. The first technique I'm going to teach you, which is quite useful, the technique we're going to do is the circle of confidence. I'm going to guide you through this technique, and we'll go from there. Okay. What I'd like you to do is to stand in a position where your feet are shoulder width apart. Now imagine a circle in front of you, and the circle in front of you is filled with confidence. And as you imagine that circle in front of you filled with confidence, I want to really imagine filling that circle with confidence. Okay? And as you imagine, give it a colour, a sound, imagine the feelings. Imagine the feelings of confidence, and just relay the confidence, or think of a time that you were confident. And notice you saw, heard, and felt. Or, if you can't think of a time, imagine what you'd like to be confident. Somebody you know is really, really confident, and put the feelings into the circle, and flood the circle with all these feelings of confidence. And as you do that, just step in that circle, and let it radiate from every cell of your body. And you can close your eyes. If you come to closing your eyes, perhaps you want to close your eyes, and as you close your eyes, become aware of your breathing, and your heartbeat, and let those feelings of confidence spread through every cell of the body, and colour, and begin to glow and radiate to the world, and really get that feeling of confidence. Really radiate that feeling. And as you do that, notice you sound these sounds. It could be the sound of your favourite song or music or tune, and really feel it. And step back out of the circle and just have a bit of a shake. Okay? Now once again, just fill that circle with confidence. Your favourite tunes, colours, sounds, feelings. Think of the time you're confident, and really, really fill the circle with a lot of confidence, and really, really, really max it out. Let's go on 1 to 10, 10 high. When you get to 9, step in there, give the colour, the circle of colour, let it radiate from the cell of the body. Really feel it. Feel the confidence. And as you feel the confidence, you see, you hear. Okay? Fantastic. You can step back out again. That's a process you can use as often as you want. And the more you use it, the more pathways you'll build will brain, the more automatic it becomes. So in the time we've got, I don't have a lot of time to go into too much detail. You can watch the video again as often as you'd like to, or you can email me. I'll send you the worksheets you can do, carry on doing the protocol. Write down some stuff you've got coming up. It might be presentation, interview, meeting, exam, sports, event, to show anxiety. Write down some stuff that's coming up that you'd like to be in a peak mental state. And as you do that, think of the time you were awesome. Go back to the time you felt really, really fantastic. Really fantastic. Think of times in the past where you felt you could have done better, and you kick yourself. Times you could have done better, and you kick yourself. And as you think of times that you could have done better, think of what you could do. The KPI story I mentioned before, the HPI. So these guys were really struggling until I came in and taught them how to become more enthusiastic, more motivated, more focused, and they smashed every sales record. You can do the same too. You be focused on time you felt awesome. And anything you've got coming up, focus on being the best you. Before we begin, I want to do an awareness exercise. Every time I clap my hands, I'm going to write down the first thought that comes to mind. Okay? Every time I clap my hands, write down the first thought that comes into your mind. Write it down. Write it down. First thought that comes to mind. Write it down. Every time I clap, write down the first thought that comes to mind. Okay? Now, as you write down the thoughts that come to your mind, most of the thoughts that you have are harmless or they're beneficial. As human beings, we generalize. And generalizing, is it a good thing or a bad thing, do you think? Well, generalizing can be good because the capacity to learn something and be able to carry on doing it. I don't know if you've seen that film, 50 First Dates. I wouldn't rush out to see it if you haven't seen it yet. Think about this for a situation where the woman loses her short-term memory, and as a result of losing her short-term memory, the guy that she has a relationship with has to video all the things they've done the day before, including feelings like love and so on and so forth, and put the video in and remind her. So if you didn't generalize, you have to relearn to drive the car every day, relearn to walk every day, relearn to do all the things you've learned at an unconscious level every day. So generalizing is good to a point. It's also good because we make generalistic assumptions that are quite useful for us, but generalization can be a bad thing too. Because sometimes we generalize about other people, ourselves, the world, and that can be a negative thing because we can have a perception about situations, and behind the behavior, behind the belief is a behavior, or behind the behavior is a belief, I should say. So you might want a relationship, yet you don't feel worth being in a relationship. You might fear rejection and subconsciously protecting yourself. So you might sabotage that great job opportunity because you don't believe you're worth it. And you run these thoughts, and they say, as an assumption, we have 60,000 thoughts a day. That's not entirely true because we can't prove that yet. That's probably not far off the mark. We have many, many thoughts every day. Now, we make these general assumptions. So the child knows fire hots. Okay, fire hots. So throughout our life, we build these beliefs, these schemas. A schema, to cut long story short, is a core belief assumption. So for example, let's say three of you guys. Three of you guys are walking down the park. Okay? Three of the guys are walking down the park. And one of you had a dog like this at 5-year-old. It was your best friend. One of you had a dog like this that had mauled you. And one of you didn't have any experience with that dog. 20 years later, if you saw the same type of dog, the same dog, probably wouldn't be alive 20 years later, the same type of dog, what do you think the reaction would be of the first one? Correct. They'd make the assumption that it was fluffy and cuddly and go over there and stroke. Second one, correct. They would fear more than likely. And the third person, who had no experience with the dog, what's all the fuss about? So you've got emotions on various levels, beliefs and assumptions based on experience. Now, I mentioned earlier that it doesn't take a long time to get a belief. People say it takes a long time to acquire, to make a change, to pick up a belief. Well, think about it this way. You could hit turbulence in the plane momentarily, and you can have a belief about flying. Or you could break up in a relationship and make an assumption about the person, or women or men. You could lose a job. You could do something once. And that can form an emotional impact in your brain, and you run that. And throughout your life, you might evolve academically, like this woman I worked with years ago, this woman I helped with weight loss years ago, high-powered businesswoman, worked millions of pounds, had a £1 million business, yet she'd been in a relationship breakup, and for 2 years she'd had social avoidance. She'd go home from work, and the first thing she'd do after work late at night is eat all the wrong foods at the wrong time. When I regressed woman to the earliest point she experienced the emotion that was impacting the behavior, driving the behavior to eat the wrong foods at the wrong time, she was 4-year-old. And her mum, every time she would get upset or get hurt or get injured, would feed her chocolate cake. So she built a relationship with chocolate cake and love. Out of a relationship, she'd go home and eat all the wrong foods at the wrong time to compensate for that loneliness. We did transactional analysis and regression, and she improved. And she got better. She got the way she wanted to be for experience. So we don't want to believe all the things that we think. Don't believe everything you think. What I want you to do is a great technique. Okay? I'd like to do this following technique. It's a powerful process. It's a bit like an affirmation, but it's an incantation. We put a physical action into it, and we put emotion into it. Because affirmations are useful, yet you can tell yourself 1 million times, I'm happy, I feel good, and your subconscious, the limbic system, your brain, is who you're trying to keep. You put emotion into it, you can reverse the beliefs you've had all those years. Okay? So take a belief that you have. It could be about yourself, relationships, it could be about money, it could be about finding a new job, a career, about health. Many years ago when I put on a lot of weights, I had a belief about weights. I felt that there was no way I could achieve the weight I want to achieve for one reason or the other. Ultimately I felt, well, as an athlete I could train hours a day, hours in training, It'd be almost impossible to eat the foods I needed to eat to achieve an optimal weight. So I reverse incantation. In business, when I first went to business, one of the main issues I had was around money. I grew up in a poor environment. As a result, we saw money as a negative thing. And although I was creating a lot of value in people's lives, I was working with people who had made a substantial amount of money, even footballers making $100 grand a week, and not even charging some of them to do what I was doing. And I realised I couldn't do the work I was going to do without seeing money differently. So I transformed money being evil to money being a source of energy that provides me with the opportunity to help others. And that was the incantation I've used. And I'll go over again. Because you've got an imprint in your brain, and you want to override the imprint and see the world differently, provide it energy, vibrate up a new level. So write your belief, the opposite, and put emotion into it. Let's do it 7 times. 7 times. Okay? We'll do it 7 times. And what I'll do, you can practice afterwards. What I will do is I'll use one of my incantations. One of my incantations is one of the ones I use to reverse my health and get back to the way I want to be. And then you can write your own. So you can work on mine for now. We'll do it 7 times, and then you can do your own. So stand in position. If you've got any injuries, ailments, then you don't have to do the physical action. However, if you're comfortable doing physical action, do what's comfortable for you. Okay? So breathe out. Every day, I feel fitter and healthier. Okay? And again, every day, I feel fitter and healthier. Now really, double punch, put emotion. Every day, I feel fitter and healthier. Okay? Last couple. Every day, I feel fitter and healthier. One more. Every day, I feel fitter and healthier. And you can extend that to I am, the power of now. Okay? We'll extend that. I am fit and healthy. I am fit and healthy. One more time. I am fit and healthy. Fantastic. You can carry on doing it if you want to. Your own. We can also do the incantation with a feeling, an emotion. Or for a period of my life where I felt low. I'd spend months at a time feeling low. Many months, and those months would turn to weeks, to days, till now. I only stay as long as I need to stay in that emotional state to learn what I need to learn, because emotions are like a knock on the door, a warning signal. We should teach children in schools understand emotion. So knock on the door, rather than suppress. Now I'm not really qualified to comment on medicine. I do believe, I'm sure some people may or may not need it. My philosophy is that people who do take medicine, in certain situations, sure, can also work on things like these. The younger you do this sort of work, the better it is. You've got your own kids, you're a teacher, it makes a lot of sense. Now, I'm not advocating someone not take medicine. I'm advocating that they do what they want. That's not my field. What I am advocating is that we can produce chemicals in the brain through exercise, through training the mind as well. So I'd like to see, and certainly the courses I run, I'm seeing more and more people from the medical field coming along with interest, passive interest. Particularly when I did the work with the young girl I was working with who had severe anxiety, she'd curl up in a ball. My understanding was she had fibromyalgia as well. And for 4 years or so, she already left the house, and she was under various clinical treatments. I worked with her in a very short space of time. She improved and got better. She went to university, drove a car, outgoing, and got a life back. Her consultant was one of the best in the country, I think, well, at least as far as I'm aware. The secretary wrote me a letter saying, what did you do in that short time frame? It's all case formulation. And certainly any of the information I talk about tonight is educational. It's not a replacement of anything else, because every individual is based on case formulation. And what you can do is take a feeling. So what I did, the feeling, one of the feelings I had when I first started university, in my journey of lifelong learning, at 23 they called me a mature age student, God knows what they call me now. I could barely read and write, and I could barely know the alphabet. And I felt, how will I ever get through any of this in my journey? And I had that feeling of helplessness. I reversed that. And I took the feeling I had when I was doing competition as an athlete and said, I can feel that way as an athlete, I can feel that way as a student. I'll do the incantation. I am powerful. I am bright. I am intelligent. Because the educational system that we educate in is institutionalized, it's based on the Industrial Revolution, it's gone, it's toast, it's not working no more. With the technological age, it's isolating more and more people. Kids these days, they want an answer, they go on Google. So we're giving all these kids all these labels. I'm not saying labels aren't useful, I'm sure they help people, but certainly in my experience of working with young people in schools and in EBD, emotional disadvantage schools, some of the issues is just their learning style. Their learning style is not adapted to modern curriculum. So things that we can do to empower people, you can do this yourself, is choose an emotion that you'd like to feel. You write down an emotion that you don't want to feel as much anymore. Because not all emotions that are negative are bad emotions. Out of anger and fear, good things are materialized. Okay, out of anger, you've had people like Martin Luther King who went on to do a healing, or Rosa Parks who wouldn't stand up on a bus. So these emotions serve. It's just not staying there and doing something about it and choosing the behavior to go with that. Okay? So take the feeling and write the opposite. We'll do a couple of invitations and then you can choose your own. We'll choose confidence. I am confident, and punch. And put emotion into it. I am confident, and punch. Really put the emotion in there. Come on, put the emotion. I am confident, and punch. Fantastic. Fantastic. You carry on if you want to in your own time, your own pace. Relaxation exercises are good too. One of the ones I use for some of my clients. Now, each client is based on case formulation, but one of the ones I use is breathing exercise. The breathing exercise, people who've got anxiety and fear generally breathe out of their chest, breathe through their chest. If you breathe through your chest, what do you think the brain does? The brain sends a message that something's wrong, danger, and you hyperventilate, and you get more anxious. If you don't hyperventilate to the point where you collapse, you get really, really anxious, and you might withdraw socially, or you might go into a safety position, or you might go into a fetal position. And so I teach my clients, once I've done hypnosis with them, is to go away and carry on doing hypnosis, but also breathing exercise, and breathe through their stomach. And by breathing through their stomach, the brain sending a signal, mind and body. If you don't believe in mind and body, think of the time you're nervous for an exam, needed a wee, or somatic conditions, to calm down. Everything's okay. Now, I'm not recommending it for everybody, and I would recommend anyone who does that see a doctor first, because there's many underlying reasons, medically and other issues, that could be contributing towards anxiety. Yet, all things said and done, all things being equal, that's one way to do that. So practice some breathing through your stomach. Okay, breathe in and breathe out. And hold your stomach and breathe in and breathe out. And notice how much more calmer you feel. How much more calmer and relaxed you feel. Fantastic. Go on, breathe in. Fantastic. Okay? Keep a gratitude journal every day. The peak mental state. It is not possible for fear to live in an environment of gratitude. It's not possible for fear or any emotion to stay for a prolonged period of time. So I'd like you to think of what you're grateful for in life. Your family, children, it could be friends, material possession, a house, car, many, many things you'd be grateful for. If you can't think of something you're grateful for, something you'd be thankful for. Being alive is a good start. There's only one of you, there's only been one of you, and will only ever be one of you in this genetic form anyway. So make the most of it. Okay? Now, think of a time that you were grateful for something in life, or think of something you're grateful for, and perhaps you'd like to close your eyes, and as you close your eyes, feel it. Feel the gratitude for your family, and breathe in through your stomach, for your loved ones, for food, material possession. And remember, we don't know how much we need something until it's gone. For your senses, the senses you have, feel it. Feel it. Okay? So practice gratitude list in the morning and in the evening. And the reason I say that in the morning is when we're most receptive. It's a bit like if you listen to a song on the radio in the morning, it stays in your head. The critical factor's down, subconscious is open, and in the evening you watch a scary film, you have a bad dream, good time to practice the gratitude list. Because then it becomes natural. The more you do something, the more the pathway becomes natural. Think of when you first learned to drive a car. What was it like? First gear, second gear, stall. Now you're getting to go to where you've got to go, and unless it's a new destination, you've got to think about it consciously. Okay? The more you practice, the more the pathway, you can access it. The clearer the road is. Perspective exercise. Change your perspective, change your world. Change perspective, change your world. Take a challenging situation in your life and write down 5 different ways you can see it. 5 different ways you can see it. Okay, or as many ways you can think of, or 1 or 2 ways, or 3 ways. Entirely up to you. Change your perspective, change your world. Okay, I was working with a woman a few months ago who'd broken up in a relationship, well, a marriage I should say, of 40 years. And the husband wanted a divorce and had met someone else and so on and so forth. And she'd been to see many people before she's come to see me. But when she came to see me, some of the work that we did, as well as the work we're doing now, was in perspective. The illusion she had about the way things should go. And she was in the right to be very angry and upset, and everything else that went with it. Yet through social withdrawal and eating unhealthily, her ex-husband was out there doing what he was doing, wasn't giving a second thought, and she was losing her life. And life being precious, one of the things we used, as well as other stuff that we did, perspective exercise. If you didn't want to be there, maybe it's best it's not there. And ultimately, in the end, she would get her life back. She wrote me an email a considerable time afterwards saying it was sort of the best thing that could have happened. As a result, she got back into some work, back to education, traveled the world, and met someone better for her. So in life, we don't know. We give the life meaning. There's no good or bad, only the meaning that we give it. And we can see things various ways. I'm sure you lost a job at some point, and then you look back and think, it's a good job I lost that job. I'm sure that you might have had a situation you broke up and you met someone better for you. So all these things happen, don't they? So it's a good thing to use. And that's not to patronise people. Life can be pretty painful at times. We lose jobs, we break up, these things happen. Life's going to bring you that. It's just a fact. But we either stay stuck or move on. All that you want, we want to feel better. Okay? Every penny, pound, dollar, cent is spent to feel better. I'm a big believer in goals. You probably watch my goal-setting videos, and I believe goals are the pathway, a journey to where we want to go. Well, I would say, go to the emotion first. So if you want a new car, go to the feeling. If you want a new house, holiday, money, go to the feeling, and that proves that you can experience that feeling without having it anyway. And you could argue, well, that's not real. But you could also argue that by doing that, you raise your level of vibration, and you're going to attract it into your life. But even if you don't like that sort of stuff, ultimately, in the end, the quality of your life is the quality of emotion. The KPI story, the HPI story, the more better the staff were emotionally, the more functional they were. The better life you're going to have, the more functional you are, in the sense that the more meaning you've got for what you do. Now have the goals, and you could argue you're in a better place to achieve the goal. At a seminar, this young man said to me, when I mentioned that, it was BS. It's not true. I said, what do you mean it's not true, young man? He said, well, I've broken up a relationship, and I'd like to find someone new. It's been 2 years now. How can imagining the feeling of being in a relationship be true if there's not really someone there? I said, young man, what sort of person do you want to be with? Someone energetic, vibrant, optimistic, and so on and so forth. And I said, well, carry on being a miserable bastard. And that's exactly it. So we've got to go there first. So the key is, you go there first. Teacher, you want to motivate your students, you go to motivation first. You go there first. Teacher, you go there first. When I used to work with offenders, some of the teachers would walk in like this. I can't be bothered. And I used to think, well actually, how do you want to motivate students if you don't motivate yourself? Of course it's hard, I know. I've been a teacher, I've been a manager, I've been a leader. I've worked in some of the biggest institutions in the world. But you've got to go there first. Of course we have days where you don't feel like getting up out of bed in the morning. I have that. There are days I think, oh no, but I don't stay there. There was a time in my life, I remember when I was working in the Premiership with some of the most elite footballers in the country, in the UK, and I was working the who's who. I was based in London, and I had to motivate people who were on substantial amounts of money, and I was working with some of the who's who, celebrities and so on and so forth, and I'd been on America on a tour, I'd been on the wrong end of a deal out there as an athlete, and on my return to the UK, I had to struggle on for a considerable while until I got money coming in from the club I was doing some work for, and I'd turn up with little or nothing, and that's when I put this stuff to the test. I'm not going to be able to motivate a player or a top athlete if I'm going there being the victim. Because you can be a victim or a winner. And what I do, I have a school of thought. I draw a line. The line is a W or a V. The V is the victim, and the W is the winner. The winner being that we recognize there's problems out there, we're not Pollyanna, but we do something about it. The victim being the one who moans all the time and thinks by moaning they're solving the issue. You choose. I had a football manager phoned me up a year ago saying, we've got a game, Jim. It was roughly midnight. I said, who are you playing against? He goes, Big Cup. It was in the lower league of English football, playing one of the biggest teams in the world. And he goes, I can't believe it, Jim. We're playing tomorrow and half the team is decimated with flu, we've got injuries, we've got ailments. What do I do? I said, you can do this. You can call me in an hour. He called me back in an hour. He said, Jim, I can't believe it. We've got a great opportunity. We're playing one of the biggest teams in the country, if not the world. We've got nothing to lose. The pressure's all on them. The pressure's all on them. We can make a name for ourselves. We've got some talented young players who can go out and express themselves. You see the difference? Perspective and attitude? You see how it's important? Mindset is key. Who we are, what we are. You're the sum of all the experiences you've had in your life. And biology, no doubt. Nature, nurture, who knows what is which and what influences who and how much. But we know you can go with what you've got. And some things I do, like imagery. Okay? Now, very briefly, perhaps you'd like to close your eyes. As you close your eyes, I want you to really imagine and feel yourself in a happy place. Notice the colours, the sounds, the feelings, in a relaxed environment. Okay? Feel it. Feel what it's like. And as you feel it, as the colours, the sounds, fully experience those feelings. Now, in your own time, your own pace, have a shake, come back to here and now. You can extend the exercise if you want to, but because of time, I'm going through it at a quicker speed. Now, I did this exercise once. I was doing some consultancy work with the Air Force, and one of the guys who was a senior person in the Air Force, when I was doing the exercise, he goes, what a load of bullets. I said, okay. Me being the corporate hippie, the way I am, I invited the gentleman to the front of the room. Didn't argue with the gentleman, he had his perception of the world. Sometimes we see the world the way we see the world. So I said, what I'll do, I'll put a blood pressure monitor and a heart rate monitor, take your heart rate and blood pressure. I took his blood pressure and it was 140 something over 90 something. I took his heart rate, it was about 90 beats per minute. Now I'm not medically qualified, but I do know, at least in the UK, the range is roughly about 130 over 80, and between 60 and 90, close to 60 is better to be heart rate wise. 10 minutes of imagery, I retook the blood pressure measurement. It was 132 over 80 roughly, and about 65 BPM. Now that might not sound like a lot, 65 BPM into just the 90. If you multiply that by how many minutes in a day, it's about 20,000 beats less strain in the heart. Now I can hear what you're saying. Will that stay that way all day? I wouldn't have thought so, but you can do it again. It's a bit like pain relief. You take a tablet for pain relief, the pain doesn't go forever, you take another tablet. When I do my pain relief sessions with my clients, I do audios for them. And then, where it's permittable, not every pain relief client I'll work with, I'll do hypnosis for. First we'll get him medically checked out if there's underlying issues. I always advise people I train, like the chiropractors I did a course for at university a while ago. I said first you want to do get them to do exhaustive battery medical testing to make sure there's nothing else that it could be. You never guarantee, but at least you know where you are. So pain in the back might not be somatic, it could be a tumour. You don't want to 6 months down the line of someone in a situation. So my pain relief, sometimes in certain situations I'll even consult the doctor to see if they think it's viable doing that. So that's my safeguarding. But more to the point, the guy at the Air Force said, well, okay, I've bought in now, resistant climb. I said, now I'm going to run to the end of the wall and to the wall and back. I'm going to ask you a question. And he did it. And I asked him a question when his heartbeat was really, really high. I said, now you're going to relax again, 5 minutes hypnosis, imagery, run there and back. And when we reduce your heart rate, so the first time you ran there and back, answered the question, high heart rate. Second time, under hypnosis, relaxed, lower heart rate. I said, in what state were you more effective to answer the question? Of course, the latter. Think about it. You run around the room and do something, you've got to logically make a judgment, or subconsciously. Okay? Or what do you like driving when you have some road rage and your heart rate's going really, really high? You're more vigilant. You're more edgy. You're less capable. Someone gives you a curveball question. So the more calm, relaxed you are in that situation, the better it is. It shows how powerful it is. You can ask yourself powerful questions as well. The questions are the answers. If you ask yourself victim questions all day, why me? What happened? You're going to get the answers, and you're going to run a 60,000 cycle of thoughts in your mind. You can ask questions like, what are your most treasured memories? Take a moment and close your eyes. And as you close your eyes, think of your most treasured memories. Just reflect on your most treasured memories. The more you're doing this, the more you are rewiring the brain. You're consistent. It's to say that the brain was hardwired 0 to 7. Child is father than man. Now we know. You're persistent. The brain rewrites itself. So start with your most treasured memories. Times of loved ones, times of children, times of many things. And even if the things didn't work out the way you want to work out, just go to the memory and let the negative thought disintegrate the atmosphere. Life is like that. There's never a perfect day. Never a perfect day, and if it's perfect, it won't stay perfect for long. You've got to keep going, keep doing. Mental skills is like nutrition. You don't eat one good meal and you're healthy forever. You don't do one exercise session and you're fit for life. You've got to keep doing it. You give those treasured memories and recycle them in your mind. Become hardwired to succeed. Okay? Good. I think life is not about sink or swim. Many motivational speakers, they talk about sink, swim. The mind is a little bit too complicated for that. There's a lot of implicit association we've got to various situations that can affect the way we feel and think. Nature, nurture, well, we know, we have to be very naive to think that nurture doesn't have a big part in our mind. It does physiologically. Certain colour eyes, you might be a better swimmer, better runner. Certain hair colour, biology. But also as well as biology, I believe in going as far as you can tolerate. So rather than take 2 steps forward and 5 back, I believe incremental steps, as much as you can tolerate. And the reason being is that the situation we're in now isn't entirely your fault. So if you are overweight, it's not entirely your fault. You might have had a baby, as well as a baby, you might have had a new role, and it's not easy to go back to healthy eating patterns. It might have been a bereavement. So true holism for me is about uncovering every stone in adverse to reductionism. And I once talked to someone who was a therapist who said he's holistic. He'd used shaman techniques, which I do buy into and are quite useful, yet he insinuated that was the only way, and he called it holistic. Holistic is uncovering every stone. I said, no, it might be done with chakras, it might be a person's lost their sister, there might be bereavement, there might be other issues that are going on in the person's mind that they feel like that. And we've got to explore. So one of the things I say, a good place to start, is you didn't choose your biology, you didn't choose your parents, as we say in sport, we're adapted to certain roles. You didn't choose a lot of things in life. And by being more empathic with yourself, because you wouldn't speak up with the way you speak to yourself, it's the healing process. You start to heal. So when you eat those 2 chocolate biscuits, you don't beat yourself up in the head and end up eating the whole packet. You eat 2, fine. It's okay to eat 2. And that's it. And that's why most of these groups that do weight loss, they focus on the very thing that is the issue, all these points and penalties, and the persons beat themselves up as much anyway. You don't need to beat yourself up any more than what you have to. So, going back to this point of view, we take away biology, psychology. If you were born up in a nice family environment with parents who are loving and kind, then you've got a better chance in life of feeling better, functioning better. Then you grew up in social circles that were really good, inspiring. Yet, all things said and done, imagine for a moment you were born in an environment where you're born into a great family with great parents, and the local drug dealer decided they want a baby, they couldn't have a baby, and they stole you. Then you were brought up in a world from 2-year-old onwards where you experience nothing but violence and pain. Would you be the different person you are now? Of course you would. Of course you would. So, acceptance is not resignation. It's accepting the situation for what it is and taking steps forward to where you want to go. You run your own race. It's not about comparing to other people. We can look at other people as role models. We can stay focused. We've all seen people in the media who, at one point in their life, have achieved a lot in the world that we know it. Depression or even suicide, so on and so on. Not to say people who strive are all going to do that, and other people live in gold. It's about the purpose. So I'd like to ask you the question: if there's anything that you could change the way you were raised, what would it be? What would it be if you could change about the way you were raised? Okay? We know in a normal biochemically functioning environment, where the mum is functioning biochemically well, when baby's born, she produces a huge amount of oxytocin, and we know that baby cries. What does the baby cry for? For food, yeah? What else? Changing, soothing as well. Soothing. So we know, in a normal environment, the mum's going to come and run and soothe baby. But ultimately, in the end, it's variable on different spectrum. And not to say that people can't change things. And not to say that baby that's soothing is going to go that way all the time. But eventually, even oxytocin wears off. And when it wears off, the love is always unconditional. Yet, for the first time, 2-year-old, you drop a glass on the floor and you get told off. You're not used to it. Because when the baby's born, and for those of you watching who've got children, you'll know for the first year or so, the baby can throw up all over you. If someone threw up in your pub, you wouldn't react the same way as that. But the baby can do what the baby wants. The baby looks how it looks. The baby's the most beautiful baby in the world. The baby, doesn't matter what the baby does. But then the baby all of a sudden, at 2-year-old, starts to walk, kicks the ball, smashes TV, and it gets told off. And there's one thing I'd like to suggest when you're a teacher or parent, if you're ever going to say to a child, separate the behaviour from the identity. Because if you tell someone often enough you're stupid, worthless, hopeless, what do? Yes, they're going to believe it. Self-fulfilling prophecy. Every system of therapy should have identity. a way of working on identity, which we'll do in another video, another seminar. So now we focus on what we can focus on. So be compassionate with self. Have self-compassion. Empathy with self. The final conversation we'll do is emotional thought exercise. I'd like you to step one, identify emotion. Love, gratitude. Now think of the time you experienced emotion. Now we're going to fire a neural pathway in the brain. So write down the emotion love, gratitude, and really flood the body. Close your eyes and fully associate to the emotion of love, gratitude, and hold on to 30 seconds or so. If you've got any negative thoughts, let them disintegrate into the atmosphere. Let them pass like a river. Don't fight them, let them flow. Okay, beautiful. Let them flow. And as you let them flow, fully feel these feelings. Okay, and you can practice as often as you want to. You can come back to the here and now in your own time and own pace. If you want the technique, email me, I'll send you a technique. Enjoy the moment. Now is all you have and will ever have. And people say, well, Jim, it's a paradox. You're really big on setting goals. Yes, I am. You can only put it to one side. You plant the seeds, and you let nature take care of itself, and you nurture the seed. You can't control the locusts, you can't control the weather, you can't control anything, you control what you can. We can hypothesize over what if, what will be, whatever will be, will be. We can focus on the past, can't change the past. So practice cultivating an attitude of mindfulness, being now in the present. Enjoy the moment. The moment is the only time you've got. Now, I've really enjoyed this evening. It's gone really fast. And that's pretty much what we've got time for. Let this be a springboard for the life that you design. Because you're worth it. We're all unique. We've got purpose in this world. Let tonight be a springboard for you to go where you want to go. Alternatively, take what you need out of it. Take what's right for you. I've been very fortunate to have seen some of the world's best speakers and be mentored by the world's best. I've been very fortunate in my lifelong learning journey to be mentored by some of the world's best psychologists. I've been very fortunate to be to seminars, some of the world's best coaches and therapists over many, many years. I've done many courses. My lifelong journey, I've spent probably 4 or 5 hours a day on average for the last 20 or so years learning new things. And to think at a point in my life was just a vision. And to think at a point in my life I could barely read and write through personal circumstances. And to think at one point in my life I barely knew the alphabet. In my 20s I've gone on to write 3 best-selling books and 10 resource manuals. And I'm not saying to brag, I said it to show you what's possible in life. Now it wasn't my fault as a young person that things weren't the way a young person should live. We grew up in poverty and in school. I didn't get to go to school very often, so I didn't really focus on that. But eventually I would realise that it was important to learn. And whilst I don't think academia is all the answers, there's many ways to learn. I truly believe learning is not just about academia, because people might have a PhD, they can't find their way to paper bag. It's about your own life PhD. I've seen many a single parent do things that anyone could ever dream of doing. So life's experiential. And so we learn. Experiences we learn. But ultimately what I would say is that you never know what's possible. Anything is possible really. If you believe in yourself, then you'll never go. And you learn in the journey as well. So I'd like to thank you for attending this evening and watching wherever you are in the world. My apologies for the picture quality because we've had a blackout here, but we go on the show no matter what. We carry on the stream no matter what, and we actually had a blackout yesterday as well. So that's life, that's the way it is. Yet, do email me if you've got any resources or anything to come this evening and watch it over again. If you want to, my email is info@excelnlp.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Or send me an email. So thanks again. Until then, live with passion.